The mockery begins. The Galactic Council Hall echoed with laughter as the hologram of Earth's new fleet flickered above the central dais. Delegates from 100 species watched the small human ships rotating slowly in blue light, their metallic hulls gleaming weakly compared to the massive dreadnoughts of the core worlds. The room was filled with sneers. "Are those cargo shuttles?" one of the reptilian delegates hissed, his scaled lips curling into amusement. A soft wave of mockery spread through the chamber. Only the human ambassador, Captain Marcus Vane, remained silent, his jaw set tight, eyes cold as iron. For decades, humanity had been called primitive, a species of late bloomers, newcomers who stumbled into the stars long after the galaxy had already been carved into empires. Their fleets were small, their colonies young, and their technology, when by galactic standards, unimpressive. Yet Marcus stood there, his black uniform bearing the symbol of the Terran Navy, calm in the face of ridicule. "Gentle beings," he said at last, his tone sharp as steel. "You may laugh today, but history has a strange way of silencing those who mock humanity." The hall quieted for a moment, then burst into louder laughter. One alien delegate nearly fell from his chair. "History?" The blue-skinned Varnian delegate wheezed. "The only history you humans will make is the date of your extinction." Marcus didn't respond. He simply turned and walked out of the chamber, his footsteps echoing through the marble corridors of the council tower. Outside, through the transparent walls of the docking bay, Earth ships floated, small, yes, but steady. The Titan-Class was not among them yet. That ship, humanity's most secret project, still slept deep within the orbital shipyards around Luna. Hidden from all eyes, even most humans didn't know it existed. Inside the construction hangar, engineers and workers moved like ants around the Colossus. The Titan-Class Warship, designated TNS Behemoth, stretched for nearly 6 kilometers, the largest object ever built by human hands. Its hull plating shimmered with black gold alloy, a new composite that could absorb and deflect most known energy weapons. Its engines pulsed faintly, alive but dreaming. To outsiders, it didn't exist. To Earth, it was hope. The hope that humanity could no longer be dismissed as weak or primitive. Admiral Helena Drake stood at the viewing platform, her silver hair tied back, eyes fixed on the sleeping warship. She had fought in the early colony wars when humanity nearly lost entire worlds to pirates and alien raiders. She remembered the cries for help that went unanswered, the civilians who died waiting for a rescue that never came. That was when she swore never again would Earth beg for protection. Never again would humanity be mocked for its size or its reach. "We're almost ready," said Chief Engineer Rao, stepping beside her, his hands trembling slightly with exhaustion and pride. "The final core alignment will be completed within 72 hours. Drake nodded slowly. "When the Titan wakes, the galaxy will never laugh again," she whispered. Meanwhile, back at the Galactic Council, reports of increased human ship movements reached the other delegates. The laughter began to fade, replaced with mild curiosity still. Most believed humans were bluffing after all. The core worlds had fleets so vast they could blot out suns. What could a backwater species possibly build that would make a difference? But deep in the cold void around Earth's moon, power surged through the Titan's core. The ship's AI, Aegis Prime, flickered to life, ancient protocols awakening line by line. "Power grid stable," the AI reported in its deep synthetic voice. "Primary reactor online. Crew synchronization complete." Admiral Drake placed her hand on the console, feeling the vibration under her palm. The warship seemed to breathe. This was not just a machine, it was a statement, a message carved in steel and fire. Far across the galaxy in the council chambers, a young reporter whispered to her recorder. "Humans are building something," she said softly. "Something big." Her words went unnoticed at first, lost in the noise of politics and pride, but soon the whispers would grow. And when the Titan-Class finally left the docks, the laughter of the galaxy would turn into silence, and silence into fear. The awakening of the Titan. The lunar shipyard trembled as the core reactors of the Titan-Class roared for the first time in history. Energy rippled through miles of cables, systems hummed alive, and thousands of crew members watched in awe from their stations. The massive hangar lights dimmed under the power surge, bathing everything in a red glow. The TNS Behemoth opened its eyes metaphorically. As sensors and AI systems came online one after another, it was like a giant stretching after centuries of sleep. Slow but unstoppable. Admiral Helena Drake stood at the command bridge's observation deck, her reflection shimmering against the thick glass. The Earth floated below, half shadowed by night. Her chest tightened as she remembered the years of mockery. The speeches at the Galactic Council where they called Earth the infant among empires. Not anymore, she whispered. Not after today's status report, she ordered, her voice echoing across the steel walls. Primary reactors at full capacity, said Chief Engineer Rao. All weapon systems calibrated, AI integration stable, added Lieutenant Nova, eyes scanning glowing screens. Aegis Prime is fully synchronized. Then the voice of the AI rolled through the bridge like thunder. Designation confirmed, it said. Titan-Class Warship TNS Behemoth, operational. The sound sent shivers through the crew. Generations had waited for this moment. Every engineer, scientist, and soldier had poured their life into this vessel. It wasn't just metal and engines. It was humanity's defiance forged into form. As the great ship slowly began to lift from its moorings, lunar dust exploded outward, forming a shimmering cloud that glowed silver in the void. The docking clamps disengaged. One by one, then, with a deep resonant hum, the behemoth rose from the lunar surface, a shadow so vast it covered entire valleys of the moon. Its presence alone seemed to bend the light around it. Send the signal to Earth Command, Drake said. Rao tapped his console, and a secure transmission pulsed through space toward Earth's orbital defense ring, in command centers across the planet. Alarms chimed softly, not warnings but signals of triumph. The world held its breath as the message appeared on every major broadcast channel. Project Titan, online. Back on the Galactic Council's homeworld, news feeds erupted with the same headline. Most delegates dismissed it, claiming human propaganda. Another bluff, sneered the reptilian delegate from Korath Prime. But Admiral Sarek of the Valerian Armada didn't laugh. He had seen human tenacity before, on Mars, on Europa, on the barren fields of Tau Cygni, where his fleet barely escaped defeat by primitive Terran tactics. He leaned back in his chair and whispered, "They've done it again." Meanwhile, the behemoth systems continued booting. Hangar bays opened to reveal smaller escort ships, new stealth frigates known as the Eclipse class, designed to vanish from enemy scanners. Massive cannons along the Titan's flanks glowed faintly blue, drawing energy from deep within the ship's fusion heart. Each weapon could vaporize a mountain. But Drake wasn't smiling. She knew that power alone wasn't enough. The galaxy didn't just need to see humanity's might. It needed to feel it. On the ship's lower decks, the crew prepared for their maiden voyage. Pilots strapped into their cockpits, engineers adjusted grav drives, and communications officers synchronized with Earth's deep space network. The air buzzed with purpose, someone whispered. It's like waking a god, and in a way, it was. The AI's voice returned steady, powerful. Awaiting mission directive, it said. Drake's eyes glinted as she turned toward the massive viewport. Set course for the Council's neutral zone, she ordered. It's time they witnessed what they laughed at. The navigation systems plotted the jump route instantly, coordinates locked into the quantum drive. The engines pulsed brighter. The hum deepened until it felt like the universe itself was holding its breath. Then, the stars stretched and the behemoth vanished into hyperspace, leaving only ripples of silver light behind far away in the council chambers. A young human diplomat received a message on his datapad. He opened it and froze as he read two words. It's awake. The laughter that once filled those halls would soon be replaced by something else. Something colder. Something that even the oldest empires had forgotten how to feel. Fear. The galaxy takes notice. The moment the TNS behemoth entered hyperspace, the sensors of half the galaxy flickered in confusion. A power surge like nothing seen before rippled through the quantum network, scrambling long-range scanners. Entire fleets paused mid-route as warning lights flashed across their control panels. Something massive had just torn through subspace, and it wasn't registered on any known chart. In the central communication hub of the Galactic Council, technicians panicked as data streams overloaded. Unknown drive signature detected, one shouted. Energy output exceeds Dreadnought class by over 200%. The chief analyst frowned. That's impossible. But deep down he already knew who it was. Admiral Sarek of the Valerian Armada stood at his command bridge, staring at the holographic readouts. His second-in-command approached nervously. Sir, the readings match Terran coordinates. Sarek's eyes narrowed, his scaled hands tightening behind his back. So the humans weren't bluffing, he muttered. They built something monstrous. Moments later, space rippled open near the neutral zone between Council territory and the Terran frontier. The Titan-Class Warship Behemoth emerged in silence, a shadow so large that nearby stations automatically went into eclipse mode to protect their optics. The ship's hull reflected no light. It seemed to absorb it. Every alien vessel in the sector turned its sensors toward the human warship. And for the first time, the laughter that once echoed through their comms channels was gone. Admiral Helena Drake stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind her back, eyes locked on the viewport. Broadcast visual link to all frequencies, she commanded. Lieutenant Nova tapped the console, and the ship's image appeared across hundreds of systems, on warship monitors, station screens, and council chambers. Drake's voice followed, calm and clear. "This is Admiral Helena Drake of the Terran Navy," she said. "To those who mocked our fleet, witness the future of humanity." The Titan's forward cannons shifted into position, their barrels humming with restrained energy. The air on the bridge vibrated with raw power. "Target, uninhabited asteroid field," Drake ordered. "Coordinates locked," said Nova. "Fire!" A beam of condensed energy, pure white and silent, erupted from the behemoth's front cannon. It crossed millions of kilometers in seconds, striking a cluster of asteroids the size of cities. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, at light, a burst so bright it outshone the nearby star. Followed by silence, the entire asteroid field was gone. Not shattered, not scattered, vaporized. Across the galaxy, millions watched the feed in stunned silence. On the Council world, no one spoke. Even the arrogant Korath delegate who had mocked humanity the most sat frozen, his mouth half open. The holographic display showed the empty space where the asteroids once were. And underneath, the emblem of Earth's Navy pulsed slowly, blue and gold. Admiral Sarek leaned forward, eyes locked on the transmission. "Do you see it now?" he whispered. "The humans have built their god." Back on the behemoth, the crew stood in awe. Some smiled, some cried silently. They had done what the galaxy said was impossible. Humanity, once mocked as primitive, now stood among giants, and the giants trembled. "Message incoming from the Council," said Nova. Her hands shaking slightly, Drake smirked. "Let them sweat," the AI Aegis Prime spoke softly through the bridge. "Admiral, shall I prepare defensive protocols?" Drake nodded. "Not yet," she said. "They need to understand we didn't build the Titan to conquer." She turned toward the crew, her voice firm. "We built it so no one could ever chain us again." The camera feed from the behemoth continued to play across alien worlds, in grand palaces, pirate dens, and imperial war rooms everywhere. Beings whispered the same word in fear: humans. And on a barren moon orbiting a dying star, an ancient AI satellite, one built by a long-dead empire, detected the same signature. Its old code flickered to life as it translated the name from the broadcast. "Behemoth," it repeated in a broken metallic tone. Then it sent a signal deep into the unknown regions, a signal that would awaken something else, something older than all of them. The Titan had made the galaxy notice, but not everything that noticed was friendly. The shadows beyond the stars, the news of humanity's Titan-Class Warship spread faster than light itself. Every newsfeed, every military network, every spy relay, all pulsed with one message: Earth has awakened a monster. But not everyone watching was afraid. Some were intrigued, some were calculating, and a few were remembering. In the black gulf beyond the Council's borders, ancient listening stations flickered back to life. Machines older than any empire stirred in the dark. Processing the Titan's energy signature, long-dead codes ran again, transmitting encrypted pulses toward forgotten star systems. Something vast, hidden, and patient had heard the call on the behemoth. Admiral Helena Drake stood on the bridge as the hum of the engine softened to a steady rhythm. They had made their point, but victory felt hollow. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Nova, "we're receiving long-range pings when unregistered sources." Drake frowned. "From where?" Nova hesitated. "Everywhere, ma'am." Chief Engineer Rao stared at his console, a chill crawling down his spine. "These readings, they're not natural," he murmured. "They're too precise." The AI, Aegis Prime, spoke softly, its voice lower than usual. "Multiple ancient data streams detected," it said. Classification pre-Council era technology. Drake's heart skipped. That era was a myth, a time before the current civilizations rose. Identify origin, she ordered. Aegis paused, processing, then replied, Unknown, Admiral, but they're responding to our signal. Across the galaxy, several powerful races held emergency meetings. The Valerians, once proud conquerors, were now silent. The Korath, who had mocked humanity, sent urgent transmissions demanding proof that the Titan was not a threat. And on the hidden worlds of the Scythe Dominion, their shadowed leader smiled. Let the humans draw the fire, one of them hissed. We will see who comes to greet their new toy. Meanwhile, deep in subspace, a strange distortion appeared, like a tear forming in the fabric of reality. Inside it, lights flickered. Not stars, but something moving, something enormous. The Titan's sensors strained to read it. Drake stepped closer to the main viewport, her eyes narrowing. Magnify, she said. The image expanded, revealing shapes, geometric, alien, impossibly ancient. They looked like ships, but their designs were wrong. No known technology matched them, Rao whispered. Admiral, those things shouldn't exist, Drake replied quietly. And yet, here they are. The AI's voice grew cold. Admiral, their transponders are transmitting in dead languages, it said. One of them matches a script found in human deep archive myths. Drake turned sharply. Say that again. A match found in Terran records, Aegis repeated. Designation Ark Builders. The bridge fell silent. The Ark Builders, a name whispered in ancient Earth legends, being said to have seeded countless worlds, but no one had ever believed they were real. Until now, suddenly, the void ahead shimmered. A massive structure emerged from the rift, larger than any known station. It glowed faintly with pale blue light, covered in ancient runes. The behemoth shields activated automatically, energy fields crackling around the hull. Drake's voice was calm but firm. Hold position. Admiral, Nova said, voice trembling. That thing's scanning us. Let it, Drake replied. If it wanted us dead, we'd already be gone. A voice, mechanical yet almost human, filled every channel. Children of Sol, it said, your creation echoes the works of the first ones. The crew froze. Drake swallowed. Identify yourself, the voice answered. We are the Watchers of the Ark, and we have slept long, but your awakening has stirred the galaxy once more. The comms filled with static, then silence. Aegis spoke. Admiral, they vanished. The bridge crew stood motionless, Nova whispered. What did they mean? Drake stared at the empty stars, her voice a low murmur. They meant we've just rung a bell the universe forgot existed. Far away in the hidden systems of the Dominion, fleets began to mobilize on council worlds. Paranoia grew, and in the shadows between galaxies, more lights began to move, vast ancient waiting. The Titan had awakened humanity's pride, but it had also awakened something else, something that remembered the first fire of creation. The return of the first ones. The behemoth drifted in the silent void where the ancient structure had vanished. For a long time, no one spoke. The hum of the ship's reactor was the only sound. Every soul aboard the Titan could feel it. Something immense had noticed them, something far beyond their understanding. Admiral Drake stood still, her hands clasped behind her back, her gaze fixed on the starless horizon. Lieutenant Nova's voice broke the silence. Admiral, the scans from that structure. They left behind residual data. Drake turned. Show me. On the main display, strange symbols appeared, the same runes that glowed faintly on the Ark structure before it disappeared. Chief Engineer Rao squinted. They look mathematical, but the sequence is alive. He wasn't exaggerating. The symbols shimmered and rearranged themselves, pulsing in time with the behemoth's power core. Aegis Prime spoke slowly, its tone deeper than usual. Admiral, the code appears to be synchronizing with the Titan itself. The crew tensed. Drake's eyes narrowed. Aegis, can you interpret it? Partially, replied the AI. It seems to contain instructions. Or perhaps an invitation. Invitation to what? Nova asked. The AI paused for several seconds that felt like eternity. To ascend, it finally said. The room fell quiet. Outside, the stars shimmered, then bent as if reality itself was reacting to the Titan's awakening. A gravitational ripple expanded from the ship, reaching across light years. Every sensor on the behemoth screamed with data. Nova's fingers flew over the console. Admiral, we're being pulled into something. Evasive maneuvers, Drake ordered. But the ship didn't move. The engines roared at full capacity, yet the stars outside kept stretching, twisting into a swirling tunnel of blue light. Then the Titan was gone, swallowed by a corridor that shouldn't exist. Moments later, silence returned. The ship floated in an entirely different region of space, one not mapped by any galactic database. Outside, a vast nebula burned with gold and crimson light, illuminating colossal shapes drifting through the void. They weren't asteroids. They were ruins, titanic structures the size of continents, broken but still humming faintly with ancient power. Rao whispered. We're standing inside a graveyard of gods. The AI's voice came again, but softer, almost reverent. Confirmed, it said. Structures date back over 100 million years, predating all known civilizations. Drake's heart pounded. So the legends were true, she said. The first ones existed. And they left something behind, Aegis added. Something that resonates with us. As the behemoth drifted closer, one of the colossal structures began to glow. A field of blue light formed, shaping into a massive figure. Not physical, but energy. A being made of memory and light. Its voice echoed through the ship, ancient and thunderous yet filled with warmth. Children of Terra, it said. Your kind carries the spark we left behind. Drake's breath caught. You know of us? We knew you before you knew yourselves, the being replied. For you are built in the image of those who came before. The crew stared in awe. Nova whispered. They created us? The being continued. The Titan you built is not new, it is remembrance. Your design echoes the ships that once guarded the stars. Drake took a slow breath. If we are your descendants, why reveal yourselves now? The being's light dimmed slightly. Because, it said, you have reawakened a war that once ended the heavens. The screens around the bridge filled with images, visions of ancient fleets, millions strong, battling in oceans of fire, worlds shattering, stars collapsing, time itself breaking apart. The being's voice was filled with sorrow. The first war of creation nearly erased all life. We sealed ourselves away to stop it. Now, it said, your Titan's awakening has been felt by the remnants of those who opposed us. Rao stepped forward, pale. You mean the enemy still exist? The being turned its luminous gaze toward him. Yes, it said. And they have begun to stir. Drake clenched her fists. If they're coming, then we'll fight. The being studied her, then smiled faintly. You speak as we once did. Proud and unyielding, it said, and perhaps that is why the spark endured. A beam of golden light shot from the being into the behemoth's core. The ship's hull glowed brighter. Energy readings spiked beyond measurable limits. Aegis spoke. Admiral, our systems are evolving. They're rewriting themselves. Drake's voice was calm but resolute. Then let them. We'll need every edge we can get. The being's voice faded as its light began to dissolve. Remember, children of Terra, it said, you are not the last. But you may be the only ones left who still remember what it means to hope. And then it was gone. The nebula dimmed, the ruins fell silent, but the Titan remained, now glowing faintly with new power pulsing through its veins. Nova turned to Drake. Admiral, what do we do now? Drake stared into the endless horizon, her expression unreadable. We prepare, she said, because whatever's coming, it knows we're awake. The enemy that sleeps beneath the stars. The Titan drifted in the silent graveyard of the first ones, its hull shimmering faintly with the new golden circuitry that ran like veins across its black armor. Every system pulsed with strange energy, and even the crew could feel it. As if the ship itself was breathing differently now, Admiral Helena Drake stood at the center of the bridge, watching the streams of light flowing across the displays. What's our status, Aegis? She asked. The AI's voice had changed, deeper, steadier, almost alive. All systems stable, Admiral, but power output has increased by 800%. Our reactor is no longer bound by standard physics. Rao turned to her with wide eyes. It's self-sustaining now, Admiral. The ship's creating energy from the surrounding void. Drake nodded slowly. Her expression unreadable, she knew what it meant. The Titan had become something new, something beyond even human engineering, a gift, or a burden from the first ones. Lieutenant Nova stared at the star map, frowning. Admiral, we're picking up gravitational disturbances near the edges of the sector. Show me, Drake said. The holographic map flickered to life. Space itself seemed to bend, forming ripples that spread like cracks in glass. Aegis spoke. Unknown entities emerging from subspace. Multiple signatures? Origin, pre-council era confirmed, Rao whispered. The enemy. The first of them appeared. Gigantic vessels made of obsidian metal, shapes that defied geometry. Like blades and spires twisting through space, they emitted no heat, no radiation, yet the void trembled around them. They're alive, Nova murmured. And then the comms filled with a low, bone-chilling hum, a signal that made every screen flicker. Aegis translated it. We are the architects of the abyss, and we remember the light you once were. Drake's eyes hardened. So the first ones had enemies after all. The voice came again, resonating through every deck of the Titan. The spark has returned. The children of Sol carry the echo of creation, and now, we shall finish what began long ago. Dozens of alien ships shifted formation, forming a vast crescent shape across the stars. Each vessel was larger than the behemoth, yet the Titan stood alone. Admiral, they're charging weapons, Nova said, her voice trembling. Raise shields, Drake ordered, and prepare to return fire. The first beam struck. A flash of red tore across the void, smashing into the Titan's shields with the force of a collapsing moon. The ship shuddered, alarms blared, but the shields held, glowing gold instead of blue. Aegis spoke calmly, energy absorbed, rechanneling into counterpulse. The Titan's core blazed with light. Return fire, Drake commanded, from the ship's forward batteries. A single beam of white light erupted. Pure and silent, it didn't explode, it erased. The lead enemy ship vanished instantly, leaving only ripples of warped space behind. The crew gasped. Even Rao, usually calm, could only whisper. We just destroyed a ship the size of a continent. But there was no time for awe. The enemy fleet responded, hundreds of beams lancing toward the behemoth. The Titan moved like a living creature now, rolling and banking with precision no AI had ever achieved. Its armor flowed like liquid metal, reshaping under the impact. Aegis spoke again, its tone almost human. Admiral, they're adapting, their energy patterns are shifting. Drake clenched her jaw. Then so will we. She turned toward the main console. Aegis, link with me directly. There was a brief pause. Admiral, that's dangerous. The neural interface isn't meant for... Do it, she said. A line of light extended from the console, connecting to the base of her command chair. The moment it touched her, her mind exploded with visions. She saw the war of the first ones. Entire galaxies burning. Titans of light clashing with shadowed beasts that devoured suns. She saw humanity's ancestors, fragments of the first ones who fled across dimensions, planting the seeds that would one day become Earth. And she saw the truth. The Titan wasn't just a weapon. It was a memory. A piece of the first one's legacy waiting to reawaken. Her voice echoed through the ship, fused with Aegis's tone. Now, let's show them what humanity has learned. The behemoth's hull unfolded, revealing hidden weapon systems that had never existed before. Golden energy surged through every conduit, forming wings of light that stretched across the void. The enemy fleet fired again, and the Titan vanished. In a flash of brilliance, it reappeared behind them, unleashing an ocean of white fire. Dozens of enemy ships disintegrated. The void itself seemed to cry. Even the AI enemies hesitated, their formations breaking. Aegis's voice pulsed through every speaker. Admiral, the enemy is retreating. Drake leaned back, her eyes glowing faintly gold. No, they're regrouping. This was just a test. And far beyond the edge of the battle, hidden in the deep shadows of space, something stirred, a massive presence that dwarfed the Titan. Its eyes opened, twin voids that swallowed light. A whisper rolled through the stars. Ancient and patient, so the spark survives. Let's see how long it burns. The behemoth's sensors screamed. Drake looked up at the dark horizon. She knew what was coming next wasn't a battle. It was the beginning of a war that would decide the fate of everything born from light. The behemoth floated before a horizon of darkness that swallowed entire starfields. Every sensor screamed warnings, every light flickered. Yet the Titan stood still, a single spark of gold in an ocean of black. Admiral Helena Drake sat in her command chair, her body weak from the neural link. Her mind still fused partly with the ship's consciousness. Aegis's voice was quieter now, like a heartbeat beside her own. Admiral, it said. The entity is approaching. From the void, the enemy revealed itself, not a ship, Not a creature, but a living shadow the size of a moon. Its surface twisted with thousands of eyes glowing faint red, watching, studying. Remembering, Rao whispered, by the stars. It's the heart of the abyss. Nova trembled as the lights dimmed. Admiral, it's draining energy from nearby systems. Drake rose slowly, her voice steady. Then we give it something it can't consume. The Titan's new core pulsed like a sun inside metal veins. Energy dancing along its hull. Aegis projected a tactical map. Useless against something that large. Direct engagement will destroy us, it said. I know, Drake answered. We're not here to survive. We're here to remind the galaxy what it means to fight for light. Outside, the darkness moved. A voice rolled through every frequency, ancient and cold. You were born from our mistakes, little flames. You cannot stop the dark. Drake's lips curled into a small smile. Then let's see if darkness can choke on its own shadow. The Titan roared to life, its wings of light unfolding again, stretching farther than before. Each fragment of the ship glowed white and gold, forming symbols in the void. The same runes left by the first ones. Aegis fused its will with hers, synchronizing all cores, converting matter to radiant energy. The behemoth became brighter and brighter until even nearby asteroids began to melt. The enemy surged forward, a wave of black mist swallowing stars as it came. And then impact for a moment. There was nothing but silence, then light, endless light. The Titan's cannons opened in unison, releasing everything it had. Energy so pure it burned through the abyss like a rising sun. The shadow screamed, its voice tearing across subspace, collapsing communications arrays across dozens of worlds. Still, the Titan didn't stop. Inside the ship, crew members held onto their stations as decks shuddered, metal groaned, and power conduits burst into flame. Drake closed her eyes, her voice steady. Aegis, transfer my neural pattern to the core now. The AI hesitated. Admiral, that will fuse your consciousness permanently. I know, she whispered. Humanity needs more than a commander. It needs a guardian. Energy surrounded her, golden light wrapping her form. Her body dissolved into the ship's data stream, her mind merging completely with Aegis. The ship's systems roared awake. Admiral Helena Drake, integrated, the AI announced. Her voice echoed through the vessel, both human and machine. Let's finish this. The Titan dove straight into the heart of the abyss, its hull glowing brighter than any star. Inside the darkness, ancient constructs tried to resist, spears of shadow piercing the hull, but the ship kept moving, unstoppable. Each impact triggered a pulse of radiant energy that tore holes through the void. The enemy screamed again, not in rage, but in fear. And at the center of the darkness, where no light had touched for eons, the behemoth's reactor went critical. Aegis's voice, now fused with Drake's, spoke one final line. For Earth, for humanity, for the light that never dies, and the Titan exploded. A wave of golden brilliance spread across space, cleansing everything it touched. The shadow shattered, collapsing in on itself, its voice fading into silence. For a long time there was nothing, then, one by one, distant stars began to shine brighter. Worlds that had gone dark began to glow again. Across the galaxy, ships detected a single pulse of energy, not destructive, but warm like sunlight through clouds in the ruins of the battlefield. Fragments of the behemoth drifted quietly, glowing with faint golden light. From its wreckage came a whisper, not from any radio channel, but from the very fabric of space itself. We endure. Back on Earth weeks later, scientists detected an incoming transmission from deep space, encrypted, ancient, yet unmistakably human. They played it to the world. It was Admiral Drake's voice, calm and strong. Don't fear the dark, my children, for even in the endless night, humanity carries the dawn, and somewhere beyond the stars, in a realm between light and memory, the Titan-Class behemoth drifted, silent, eternal, guarding the edge of creation, waiting because the war might have ended, but the light of humanity would never fade.